Welcome to the Fire Away Podcast. The Fire Away Podcast. Oh yeah. Here we go. Let's do it.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Fire Away Podcast. I am your host, Mark Meyer. I'm here with Fred Anders, Matt Williams. Gentlemen, how's it going?
Good. How
Hey,
are you?
buddy, how are you?
Good, man. Hey, follow us on Instagram, Fire_Away Podcast on Instagram. Catch up all episodes anywhere you get your podcast now. Today's special guest, the one and only Miss Sharon Waters. Welcome.
Welcome, Miss
Thank
Sharon.
you.
Thank you for being on.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for the gifts.
Yes.
We got to bring her on more often if we're going to get gifts every time.
We're all going to have a mouth party later on. And I'm going to stand there because that's what the candy says.
That's right.
Take a picture of that, Mark, so you can put that on Instagram.
No.
So welcome, Miss Sharon. How are you?
I'm doing well. I've been looking forward to this. At first, I was a little nervous about, oh no, and then I said to Anna, should I study something? She said, like, what would you possibly study? So maybe some ancient history from your grandfather's files. But
That's funny.
yeah, I just
just be comfortable.
Okay.
It's fun. We're going to just kind of talk through it all and get to know
Sounds
you a
good.
little bit. That's the whole idea of it. We do our employee spotlights, and you're not that you're an employee, but you're a huge part of Fireline over the years. So
over the years.
we're going to try to dig in a little bit about that, dig in a bit about you, who you are, just as a person, and some of the things you've done in your lifetime, and then a little bit about Fireline and
Yeah, we
and
got
how
some,
you met Steve.
some
Yeah.
pictures over here from
Yeah.
back in the day we'll look at, and I can post them up on the Instagram page too, so we can share it with the audience.
Great.
I'm excited to see that.
Great.
So let's start off with how did you meet Steve?
I met Steve at a volleyball Saturday. No, I think it was a Sunday volleyball game that I played every Sunday for a long time. A mutual friend would have it at his house, and we met there and we were friends. And sometime later, in between other boyfriends and girlfriends, we became closer friends.
Okay.
And that led to being closer friends, and then we got married.
Then we got married.
And stayed in I'm born and raised in Baltimore, grew up in Parkville.
Okay.
Steve was in Lutherville, so we wouldn't have known each other that way. And so it was just a mutual friend and a good friend who's now
So
gone.
after high school,
After
and
high
even
school.
after college,
Even
or
after
during
college.
Okay.
After college.
Where'd you go to high school?
I went to Parkville High
You went
School.
to Parkville High. Okay. All right.
Yep.
And then where'd you go to college?
I went to Maryland Institute College of Art, known
The
as
Institute.
the Institute, or now as MICA. And I loved it there. I thought everybody should have a chance to go to art school, which they actually do in England.
Is that right?
Yeah, if you don't have anything else to do, you go to art school. So a lot of musicians went to art school. So I did, I waited a couple years. I worked and saved money to go. And my parents thought I was crazy. My father's from an old Polish family, immigrated here. And unless you had a job the minute you got out of high school, you were useless. You had to be working. So they didn't understand. He didn't understand art at all. But and I also don't think there was any desire for he didn't get that maybe I should go to college or and study anything.
just wanted work.
He just wanted you to work because that's what he came from. And
Right.
he grew up in Pittsburgh in a steel town where everybody worked two jobs. You did that, and then my father was a musician, and he played music every weekend. He was in the Army. He played music in the Army, so he was always working hard. So anyway, I did go to art school, and I didn't make it all the way through. I quit after 2 years because the field that I was studying, we were like the redheaded stepchildren. There's no one redheaded here of the institute, and everything was very fine arts oriented, and we were known as commercial art.
Okay.
So I would say it was the weakest department at the school. And after a while, it was my money that I was wasting. And so I got a job in the field, and I was able to excel in a studio and learn everything I needed to know about my craft there instead of going to Maryland Institute.
So what was your craft? What
We'll call it graphic design now.
Okay,
It was
okay.
called commercial art, designing logos, publications, anything in the print materials. I wasn't in visual, in the film area. I was always in the printed. And logos, geez,
Now,
newspapers.
Did you work for a specific company designing logos?
I did. I worked an illustration as well. So my fine arts part came in with that. I was able to draw anything. There was a great staff there that would teach us and gave us opportunities. So I was given the opportunity to do some illustrations for them. And then later on, I went off freelance and on my own and picked up customers wherever I could. T. Rowe Price was a big customer at one time, and I did all of their. This is long before everyone had their own computer to do this. I did all their bar graphs, and I didn't know what any of them meant, but they would give me these Xeroxes, and I would have to cut and paste all kinds of products that are no longer on the market because visually you couldn't do it in a computer. It had to be done on a piece of paper and then photographed and then printed. So
it was a lot bigger process back then.
it was yeah. So anyway, it was a good field.
It's a little more simplified now.
Oh, it's.
So I guess when you finally did meet Steven with that background, do you have any what are you Fireline your logo?
It is.
That's awesome.
Mr. Waters had an old one, and I'm pretty sure they just kept Xeroxing it, or I'm going to use the word mimeograph. I'm not sure how they reproduced this thing, but it turned into, and he told me what it was. It was supposed to be, if you've seen the old one, it was supposed to look like a T-square. I'm not sure what that had to do with fire protection, especially with fire, what he was involved in. So you had the word Fireline spaced out the way they used to do things then in graphics. And then this long flame. And the flame just looked like a long blob after a while because it had been reproduced improperly for so long. So I updated that. And then I got another shot at it. We've had this logo for a really long time. Yeah. So before that, I did this one. It was a little bit more like a transition from the original to this one. So yeah, and then I did a lot of their brochures. Okay. Even small brochures,
Well, I know you've had your hand painted artwork around the buildings for as long as I can remember.
I did. I had some here. And I would create other graphics, like, these are created digitally. But so I don't know, somehow I just evolved into doing all of it made sense to have, if you had a person that you knew to do this. So I would see what Steve's needs were for Fireline, and I, tried to give them a more updated image. But that changed after Anna because she would ask me to do this in the beginning, and we had just gone so much beyond my capabilities that I stopped doing that. So it was fun. Yeah, it was good to do that. I'm glad I could help Fireline that way. It was my way of working here. So,
were there any other ways that you worked here at Fireline, or is that pretty much it? What else did you do here at Fireline?
There was this stint.
We'd love to know what you did here at Fireline.
There was a stint of I wanted to be a salesman.
Okay, and I can see it honestly.
Well, I kind of thought I could do it. It was fun until I had to actually make money.
Make a sale.
Make a sale. Talk to people like that, to buy, get them to spend their money. And I remember Steve had me go out with a couple of the salesmen, and God, I can't remember the guy's name that was older. He had been in sales his whole life and then came here like his second or third career. And he took me into the city, and he showed me how he did his estimates. They were called drive-by estimates.
Oh, jeez.
We drove by a sketchy laundromat on North Avenue. I remember this one in particular, and he looked over and he goes, "Yeah, we're not going in there. This is going to be a drive-by estimate. I think it's about blah, 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 blah." And he came up with how many extinguishers. So I got to see, there's such thing as a drive-by.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that tactic is still used today sometimes.
I'm pretty sure that laundromat's still there.
So yeah, that was brief. I tried it, but I was better. I would would say I was a cheerleader for Fireline at home.
I'm about to say public relations.
Public relations. I knew all the players. I listened to all of the NAFED talk. When we would go, I made sure I understood who the big wigs were at any in any organization. If it was Fenwall or Ansel, I knew who all those people were. I could talk to all of them, and I could talk business to them because I paid attention to what was going on here. And I felt like that was my role. But I wouldn't say I was fabulous at it, but I would say it was much more my forte than sales.
Makes sense. How was yours and Mr. Waters' relationship when you came on board? Right. You met Steve.
Yeah.
Here's my new lady, Dad. What do you think?
Oh, they were thrilled. Okay. I think. My relationship with the Waters was always very good. They wanted nothing more than their son to be happy. So, like any parent, as long as Steve was happy, they were good with anything, and there was no reason for them not to be. And Mrs. Waters kept her place. She never, ever really stepped in at Fireline. There was a time where she had very early. And Jack Hart would be one of the only people that would have remembered this. She would have the company dinners at her house in Lutherville. Wow. And maybe there were only 15 people there. I don't know. But one year a fight broke out at her house. And that was the end of the Fireline parties.
Jeez.
Yeah, that'd be a good reason to kind of put
I can't imagine what that was. But everyone was so well dressed and... everyone had coat and ties. Great picture of Jack Hart. He was really young and so handsome.
Do you remember about what year this might be?
Oh, I'm going to say 60. Oh, no, that would have been in the 50s.
Oh, wow.
Late 50s. And there's some pictures of him like that. You can get to him. Mr. Waters would wear a smoking jacket.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Smoked a pipe.
So that was, Fireline wasn't very big then. If you could hold a company party at the house, then they were kind of getting rolling. 47 we started, so that's only not even really 10 years in yet.
Right, yeah. Right. So there was, I would sit and listen to, Anna and Stephen, and everything was Fireline. Every family meal was Fireline. If the other people in the family were there, they would talk about something else to spare them. But if it was just Steve and I and the kids, it was about Fireline.
All Fireline.
So they grew up with it. They grew up listening to it all the time. And, so...
Which is probably one of the main reasons why Anna jumped right in there and kind of had a
she was
good
working,
take on it.
She was working here during college. She had another part-time job, too, because she was at University of Maryland, so she could spin over here. I didn't know what she was doing because at that point... She wasn't telling me when she was in town. So.
Right.
Shout out Anna, art history major.
Yeah. And that was a surprise for me. I was an art major, and Steve was a history major.
So she did.
She was the art history major. Did I have any idea where that was going? None. Did she? No. But she kept telling me that people they're not worried about what you're majoring in. They just want to know you can complete something. Yep. And she must have been right. I don't know.
Yeah, you have that college experiences.
Yeah, I believe that wholeheartedly. I believe that a college degree is a college degree, and it's just basically telling an employer that you have the ability to stick something out.
Right.
You can learn and you can achieve something. So, obviously you're learning some stuff about what's going on. But, that's the biggest thing part of it.
Yeah, and I think later on she was, when things are really getting, heating up here, she was, I really wish I had gone back to school and gotten a business degree. But at that point, she was getting a real life business degree. So it didn't.
Well, it's like you said when you left, right? You got everything you learned. Freelancing and doing your thing.
Doing my thing.
Pick it up, trial by fire, I guess.
Yeah. So the Waters family, very proper. Very. I guess you've heard these things about Mr. Waters, right? When I had Anna, he came to the hospital in his coat and tie. It was summer. It was August 1st. So he wore seersucker, which is very summery. And he had a tie on. And this is after he finished farming in his field. He had a little field of vegetables. And it wasn't little. He had a pretty good sized plot. But when he was finished and he found out that, the baby was born, took a shower and put his coat and tie on and came to see me. And they were very proper people, very private. And they really took a lot of, in the business field, they were probably the most rigid of the people that I met in the business, because a lot of people were real partiers and they certainly didn't.
That wasn't their forte.
That wasn't their forte. No, they were a little more, reserved.
What a good experience, good people.
Good people, great people.
Yeah.
Can't say.
I would have to
nice.
say John Waters, Steve's brother, he's not as reserved.
No,
I mean,
not as reserved.
He does keep to himself though, right?
He does.
Yeah.
He has his group, he has his circle and his places that he likes to frequent, and where he lives at different times of the year. And he's doing very well. I mean, no one could have predicted any of these things. Name any one of them, it's Johnny and John, as he prefers to be called outside of the family. And that was hard for Mr. and Mrs. Waters. They had that. And then it was Kathy and Steve, and they were easy. And Tricia was easy. John was their only loose cannon. So, as you know, he worked here half a day. Wasn't his thing. But
Now, did you guys kick it off pretty well, being both in the art?
Oh, yeah, we're unrelated, but yes, I mean that way. And we're still very close. Mm-hmm. He's always been a great, a good brother-in-law. He's attentive, always was attentive to the kids, and what are they up to? What are they doing? He liked it when they rebelled. I don't know what that was about, but he liked hearing some type of rebellion. Yeah, very well. And we still are. He's there for family dinners, and we're invited there, and we're pretty close.
It's always pretty cool. That's something like when I'm talking to people and talking about Fireline and where you work, and that's always something that I bring up, because obviously he's a big icon here in Baltimore, sure. And we talk about it, and it's always neat to connect those two together. Mm-hmm. So as far as that being a part of the history of Fireline and a part of what was going on here, it's just always a neat story. It's
but
cool.
He's always been very he's very supportive of Anna, and of course his brother, and anything Fireline, and he's interested, and it's not like it was, maybe when he grew up it was just something that was going on, but he really admired his father and Steve and Anna for what they did, and feels that he got that same business sense from the Waters family.
Well, sure. I mean, he is a business.
He is a business.
Producer, he's 100% just a different.
He markets himself.
Different market, right?
Very well.
Yeah, he does.
Very well.
Yeah, he does. So, Steve and Fireline, and now you're a part of the Waters family, and they're fantastic. And then you had Anna. So who was older? Anna. Anna's older.
The oldest.
Okay. So you had Anna, and what was she like as a child?
I think spunky. She was probably a lot like her daughter is, because sometimes I might say to myself, I think Anna's getting a little bit of what she might have given me, which was all good. But girls and mothers have that relationship when the girls don't want to wear what the mothers want them to wear out of the house. So
Dealing
I think,
with that right now.
Yeah. I think our problems were more like that, more like, you're not wearing that out of the house, or my favorite was Anna didn't want me to talk in the morning because it was just too much or something. Don't talk to the other kids in the car.
Yeah, I do without my daughter now.
Yeah, so there was all that totally normal behavior, mother-daughter behavior. So, and we're very close now. So
she was telling us on the podcast, if you listened to, about, I guess, her more free time now, and actually getting to stop and have some coffee dates with the
that
mom.
was a big day. I got a little teary when I heard her say it.
Yeah,
try not to be teary.
Well, it's also it's the end goal, right, for all of us. I feel like
you're right. It is the end goal. not that we've gotten to this subject, but my friend said to me, this was Steve's best friend, Len. Len said he knows the whole story. He's been here for the whole program, the whole history. And he said, I was just lamenting over things. And he said, Sharon, there's a beginning, a middle, and an end to everything. It's an arc. Life is an arc, and you just have to go with that. You have to understand. You can't be worried about it. And anyway, leading back to that, there was a time when I realized that Fireline took all of Anna's time, and that I was going to not be able to do what other mothers do, where they might go shopping with their daughter or they might go to dinner. We just didn't do things like that. Okay, on an occasional Saturday, especially after kids, I would make sure I was over there and I would help out. But we didn't get that time. So it was really fun when she called that night. It just occurred to me that I was flabbergasted. What do you mean you're coming over? We're gonna have dinner.
That's what she was saying, right? Like you were like, "What are you talking about? What are we doing?
Don't you have to be home for guitar or running or something?" So yeah.
So that kind of leads into then the conversation that she must have had with you when she decided that she was going to go in this direction. What was that conversation like with her, and how was that obviously with your your history of Fireline and being as involved as you have been, even with John and Steve, and then now to Anna taking over? What was that like for you?
Well, this wouldn't be the first time this would have happened. When Steve was going downhill, and I would say that was over a 2-year period of, he had a second surgery, and he did well at first, and then he got a staph infection, and it just never went well after that. And it was hard. Cindy was keeping an eye on him at work, and I was keeping an eye on him at home to make sure, if I saw anything that indicated that we really needed to make other plans. There were a lot of people working here. I was very concerned about this. Not that he wasn't, but he wasn't healthy. And so that's one of the times where we started, and the first thing he did was say to Anna, do you have any desire in doing this? Because I want to know now. I won't look any farther than you. We'll stop now. Because he wanted her to. He had that opportunity. We already knew that Stevie wanted nothing to do with this, by the way. But he gave her that opportunity, and she at that point said, I don't think so. I think, and this was probably a year before he died. She said, there's so many things that have to be fixed there. So many people that are, from your generation. But she wasn't, it just didn't sound like it was going to be happening. So, we had a talk with Norm, Steve and I, and said, okay, I had to tell him Steve wasn't doing well. I didn't think he was going to be able to do this much longer. And so we, that was the first time we considered it. That's as far as it went, because things went downhill literally the next month.
Okay.
And then when he died, I didn't want to give this up, but I wasn't capable of running it. I just judging by my sales problem. I'm way too personable. I take everything to heart. Whenever there was a bad dissension or firing or whatever, they were like, it was upsetting to me. I hated to see these things, and it's just not my thing. So we got it. We were like in a lurch. It happened so fast. And I said, okay, we're going to keep this going. We're going to keep this going until we decide what we're going to do. And I don't know, maybe a couple months later, Anna said, I hope you're not thinking of selling, because I really enjoy this. I think that this could be something that we can do. And I was like, "Are you kidding me? I was going to get a beach house." Oh, and I'm joking, but I'm sure that must have gone through my head.
Why not?
Why not? Right? And that was it. We never looked back. Thinking about this now, what the hell was I thinking turning this over to her? I mean, now if I could go back and tell my old self something, I know you're going to ask me that question. That would be it. Like, were you thinking? But I have a second answer for that. She dove in, and as she will tell you, she made mistakes in the beginning, but you don't, unless you learn from your mistakes.
Yeah, if you remember, like going back to our first episode with Anna on here, when we asked her that our kind of closing question, she says that like that was her regret, that she wishes she would have told her father sooner that she wanted to run the company, because part of her knew the whole time that she wanted to do it.
Right.
And then you obviously had the trust in her. When she decided to make that move and stay in that direction, you could have easily said, Anna, no, I don't think it's the best idea. Let's just go ahead and sell. And you could have made that call at the time.
Could have.
And you let her go after it.
It wasn't like I wasn't keeping my eye on things. I might not have been in here every day, but
you knew what was going on.
I knew what was going on. So, and I would talk to Norm, and I would talk to Cindy, and I would talk to, Phil, and I would check in on those things. But mostly I talked to Anna, and I could see by the things that she was adding to her life, adding to her fireline career, that she was making some bold, valuable moves towards growing this company. And where we were when Steve died very much was, and this is very cliche to the people that were in that meeting, but, we were past prime. We had Mr. Waters started it. We had that golden era of Halon, money hand over fist, as Mr. Waters would say. I don't know how much that is true, but
he did never get his Cadillac.
Did never get that Cadillac, but I don't know. It just worked out that I trusted in what she was doing. And then I started hearing, we had a financial advisor and Steve's best friend as well. They would talk to her. We had people in the industry that were mentoring her. And I was getting positive feedback, so I knew we were on the right track. And to go back to that being past prime, when Steve went downhill, he wasn't growing the company. He wasn't keeping track of things the way he could have. We were going because we had the employees that knew how to keep this business going. But there's certain things that certainly you'd like to do. Computers alone right there will, a new phone system will tire you, will take you down, So we needed to get back up to infancy. We needed to get back to that part where we were going to be a viable, modern company. And she and Shannon and that whole group, Rich, they all were in there with her. So I think.
No, she'd done a lot. I mean, I know she did a lot before I started in 2014, which was just a few years after she had taken over, and then just from 14 to now, just kind of where we're at before we, did this merger. But it's impressive.
I say this all the time. I say it's unrecognizable from where it was when I started, because we started at the same time pretty much.
Yeah.
But one thing that is recognizable is the people, right? And maybe might be different people, but the values, the beliefs. Like you can tell that's never changed over the years as the company's grown and changed. The core, the value of the people here, it hasn't changed, right? It's kind of, and that's a big tribute to what you guys have built and then what she has continued. So
well, that was the same feel back when Mr. John, and Mr. Steve had it too, right? It was always a people-based, family type feel, right?
Absolutely. John was very admired, not just here in Fireline, but totally within the industry. Everyone, he was one of the founders of NAFED. He was a very early president. He was director. He's been on multiple committees to grow this industry. So everyone knew who John Waters was. I mean, then when you listen to Frank wrote, look what Frank did for NFPA, what he's done, and other, certainly other employees, So I think Steve, same way. He had the people that worked for him knew what kind of person he was. He was very gentle. He was not aggressive. He was very kind. And it took a lot to rile Steve up. A lot. So, and then Anna.
So how was that conversation when she did come to you and say, "Hey, you know
Yeah,
what?
well,
I think
okay, so you did ask me that.
Yeah, well, no, but I'm glad you went back on the
backstory.
Steve part. So I appreciate that.
It was exactly like she said. I listened to her podcast again the other day, and yes, there were multiple stages where she said, "Okay." In the beginning, it was, "I'm gonna keep this forever." Stevie doesn't want it. I want it. Blah blah blah. Okay. Then it was sometime around COVID. I'm thinking that I 10 years. And then, as she said, she moved it up when she realized it was the time. Mm-hmm. So, yes, I was surprised by when she moved it up, especially when she told me that she was talking, she had already started the process, because I never thought I'd see that. I thought it'd be gone. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, I'm still here. You all are still here. But it's bittersweet for me.
Of course.
This is hard.
Yeah.
This is very hard. The first time I came in the office after the process, after, the actual data for telling everyone, I came in, I said, "Are you mad at me?" The first person I saw, because I was so worried about this. I was so, oh my God, I was sick over this. And not that I understood every reason for doing it. And believe me, I would have done it if I had to. It would have been the best thing for the company for me to do that. But that didn't happen, but it happened now. And look at all the wonderful things that have happened since in these 15 years. And I do lament that Steve, and Mr. Waters didn't see this, especially that Mr. Waters didn't see it was his granddaughter that did it.
No, I understand. It's got to be emotional. I can see it's emotional now.
Yeah,
but it always will be.
That's what I mean. The staple of Fireline, no matter what happens in the future, is never going to change.
Yeah.
I mean, the core of it, the beliefs, there's, and I understand there will be, there's always going to be changes, but the Fireline part of this place will never die.
Yeah. I mean, it's ingrained in everybody that's here. I don't think I could change that.
And in the fire protection industry alone, I mean, like you were saying about the the NFPA and the NAFED, the stuff with Frank, the stuff with Mr. Waters at NAFED, like that's a legacy that's there forever.
Right, forever.
And even Encore coming in, I mean, it's the same thing. We know all about Fireline. The entire industry knows about Fireline and what you guys encompass. So it's all the work that Mr. Waters has done, Mr. Steve has done, Ann has done. It's we're Fireline is well known throughout the industry, and that's all credit to the work they've done
to the Waters family. And I've always been very proud of that. I've always been very proud of the people, and I think this is a great chapter too. I think adding on all of these, the Encore and my only regret is I actually missed settlement because it happened in like 30 seconds and I couldn't get my computer. I couldn't get on Teams. And Anna called me and I thought she was going to say, "Where are you?" And she said, "It's over."
What?
But I put makeup on today. But I do want to go back for just a second, if
Please.
I can. When I started dating Steve, Mrs. Waters said, "We're all going to the NFPA conference in Washington, D.C. Do you have a long gown you can wear?" And I went, what is she talking about? My prom gown is just not going to work. So I had to borrow a long dress, which I think she called a gown. And it was very she. It was a NAFED and NFPA in Washington, D.C. Let's see, late, maybe 77. Lots of halon, lots of there were ice sculptures. There was, the shrimp. There was all the expensive food. It was very nice. And then there were the cocktail parties afterwards that you would be invited to. And everyone was dressed up and the men were decked out. They had suits on. They didn't have on tuxedos, but the women wore gowns. Jeez. And it was pretty wild. And then it slowly vanished.
Now, did you even know what NFPA was at that point?
Oh, I was tutored.
Oh, you're before we go to this.
Before we go to this, so I knew who what was going on. But so there's that group, and then a little more blue collar NAFED. We'd go to the NAFED conferences, and the thing that just tickled me so was it was such a big deal. They would all bring their own. Now maybe you remember your parents had one of these. Their little portable bars with them, like a little suitcase with a couple bottles in it and a jigger shaker. And they would bring those to NAFED with them for the room because they might have a party in the room later, and they might have some, talking points to go over.
You doing that, Mark?
I don't know anything you're talking about right now. Yeah.
But it was a little thing that you could buy at, God, what was the big box store then? Wouldn't have been Best Buys. I don't know.
Probably Kmart or a Walmart or Ames.
No, I don't
or
even
Go
think
to
it was that.
Montgomery
Walmart.
Ward.
Yeah.
Yeah, Montgomery
Western Auto.
Wards. Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe you could get it from the catalog of Montgomery Wards or Sears.
Yeah. It's still
Now it needs Mark calls them mini bars.
yeah.
Yeah, so they all had
bring our
those.
coolers.
And I remember that. It was something, I was like, wow, they really like drinking around here.
Yes, they do.
So
That hasn't changed over the years.
no, but that it's
It's
I'm
the
sure.
blue collar version, like you said, though. It's the you get the maybe not the technician level, but supervisor and up level of a lot of fire protection companies. And one of my favorite things to go since day one was everybody knows Fireline. When we're there, we are the Fireline guys.
Sure,
it's
sure.
It's when we walk through the demo, the vendors are all looking for the Fireline people.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to talk to Fireline when they get here. So that's always been really neat and proud. It makes me proud to go there and represent Fireline for sure.
Well, I think it's an extension of John Waters and Steve. I don't think it's changed. That part has changed. They truly were that way then, and it was a small boys' school. And I was talking about the cartel when Mr. Waters and his friends developed the other company. That was an offshoot from NAFED. These men were like-minded. They wanted to see this industry grow, and they wanted to see certainly, make sure that insurance knew what the proper ways to protect buildings, and they wanted to make sure it was their people that not were telling them, but were doing the research and giving them the right ways to do this. So it was a big growing time when Mr. Waters, got into
It sounds like
this.
life safety was a lifestyle for
Yeah,
them.
it was. So
That was really good.
Yeah.
Really good for you.
So I think Anna
that.
certainly
I
she
like
was
that.
she was carried. We did drag both the kids around to a couple NAFED events. She got her fill of all the swag that was there, pencils and
The goodie bags.
the goodie bags. So.
She's still a hit when she shows up.
She's funny. Yeah. So Stevie remembers that, and it was never something he wanted to do. He's much more like me. He's pretty laid back. People say, "Oh, she's a Type A." Well, my son is a Z. I don't even, I don't know what the other categories are, but he's got to be the polar opposite. But we all get along. She's close to him, and
That's fantastic.
yeah.
I still remember it was only a couple months after I started here, and I was working with John Pletcher, and Karen at the time said, "Steve's coming to work," meaning Stevie, and we're going to put him with you guys. Okay. And then like a couple months later, we're sitting there thinking, we're like, wait, we thought Steve was coming to work with us. So we said something to Karen. She's like, "Oh, he's not coming now." We're like, "Oh, okay." So it was like you said, it wasn't his thing. So
No, and he does very well with what he, he has his own lifestyle. It's very different than Anna's and yours and mine. And he and his wife have 2 cats, and that's all they want. He's a surfer and a wind foiler, and he's an incredible mind. He's very intelligent, great with investments, and that's what he does. And he writes software for people. He's kind of like me. I could never concentrate on one discipline. I had to have 15 things. And my mother was famous for saying, "You start something, you never finish it." And that would possibly be me. But Anna never had that. She was always driven to finish the things on her list, and very organized. And so, yeah. somehow we got here, and I'm very thankful for everyone.
So was she more like Steve, and
I
your
think
son
so.
more like you? Kind of where the personalities kind of went.
Yeah, although she definitely has my traits.
Oh, without a doubt.
There's
Without a doubt.
There might be some female, traits.
So
She's
what is
much more like that.
what does life look like right now? What do you do?
All I want to do is be with my family, travel, and pursue my art career and grow in that. I just want to get better and better at what I'm doing. So I picked up what I left off in art school. I was never a fine arts major, but I always liked it, and I said one day I want to do this again. And I always did creative work, whether it's decorating here or decorating my house or doing flower arranging or jewelry making. There was always something, glass blowing.
Well, all your holiday party, tabletops and all that stuff
gotta
always
do
look really
that,
good.
Got to do that. So I'm back to painting. I paint in oils, and I paint what's called plein air, which is outside. And I paint still life from life. Occasionally I paint from pictures, but I just want to get better. I study it all the time, and I work at it every day. So I have a new mission, or a new passion, a renewed passion, I should say, and traveling and doing it combined both of two of the best things. So now I travel and take workshops in other countries, or in the United States. So doing that, and hopefully one day being able to travel with Anna, because I do meet Stevie. He and his wife live in Portugal. So when I am in Europe, I make sure he gets over to see me and we spend time together. He's working at becoming a citizen, so he can't leave for a while. So he's got all that going on. But I hope to one day travel with my granddaughter and my grandson, and that's it. Yeah, I think that's pretty much where I am.
So where, quick question, what's your favorite place you traveled to so far? Do you have one?
I like Italy anywhere, and I like the Mediterranean.
Is that because of the art world there, or is that just
they're in France too. No, I think it's my Italian heritage that makes me. I like the food. The people.
That's the first thing I thought of was food.
Food.
Yeah.
French food's good. I don't mean that, but I don't know. There's something about the Italian food that suits me, and I grew up with that in my family. Although my father was Polish and my mother was, from the Italians, but from Sicily. I don't know. I seem to really like. I like a lot about Italy. Almost everywhere I go, I just feel like I'm home when I go there. But I think Canada's wonderful.
Get a little mad at us right now.
I know.
It happens.
So where's your next adventure taking you? Do you have something planned?
I'm going to be going to Greece, to the small island of Hydra, which is Hydra. And I'm going to be doing a painting class there. So I'm excited about that.
Cool.
I have a lot of travel anxiety. So, I have to fly there. Then I have to take a ferry to the little island. And then so I have, a little anxiety about that. But then from there, I'm going to meet my son and his wife in Florence, and then go back to Rome. And my boyfriend's family is meeting from Canada. They're Canadian. They're all Canadian. And we're going to do a Mediterranean cruise. So I'm going to have pretty much the month of May hanging out in Europe. So that's an extravagance. And I'm really excited about this. But I don't know how I'm going to get all that stuff in the suitcase.
I hear you have these suitcases filled with alcohol.
Yeah, alcohol.
Ouzo.
Get it from Montgomery Wards.
Good old Montgomery.
The building's still there.
Well, good. Well, hey, congratulations on the traveling.
Oh, for sure.
And
Thank you.
Always safe travels, no matter where you go.
Thank you so much, Fred.
Safe travels for
you.
sure. I do miss seeing you around here as much. I mean, I know over the last 5 years or so, it's obviously been much less. You know what I mean? But it was always nice. Anytime you come in, you're always a breath of fresh air. You're always fun to talk to and see, and big smile on your face. And you definitely bring that energy with you when you come in here. And I think it's infectious for everybody. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Yes, and congratulations on all this, right?
I again, it's bittersweet. I knew that question would come, and I have no other way to describe it. There's many good things about it, and it's hard for me not to be the queen.
Yeah. Well, hey, look, you are the queen of something, right? It sounds like all your kids are
Yeah.
kicking ass.
Yeah,
which
yeah,
is,
they're all great.
What else could you ask for as a mom, right?
As long as my family's happy. And I think there was a section where you asked Anna, said, oh yeah, there were these rumors and stuff. Anna would come home and she'd tell me them, and I go, Jesus, do these people even know us at all? Like, why would someone say I kicked you out? Like, you're my. Never mind. What people don't understand. Family. Family is family. So, Fireline has been my family and been a part of my life for longer than anything else. Longer than my marriage, longer than older than my kids. So this has been here longer than anything else. So yeah, it's good. It's good.
Well, it's not going anywhere.
I'm not going anywhere.
This place isn't going anywhere. It's going to be Fireline for a long time. That's the good thing about it.
It looks
this whole
better
thing.
anyway. I mean,
100%. Looks nice. Very nice.
When you talked about how it looked, how everything was so different, like, oh my God, it was so different.
Yeah, it was patchwork.
Yeah,
everything was patchwork.
And I was part of all that patchwork.
Yeah.
Mom, how can we do this? Oh God, here we go. Yeah.
Well, we do normally have that closing question, but you already kind of answered it.
Well, you can give it to me,
She's creative.
Yeah. Yeah. So, let me think about what we want to look back on. So, I guess everything being considered and what's happening with Fireline and what's happened with Fireline, what advice would you give Anna when she took over for Steve? Was there anything different that you would tell her, knowing now going into it, that would possibly help her along the way?
Possibly help her along the way. She was young and so much smarter than me with so much of that. That I don't know that I could have offered much, but I wish that I had told her to enjoy it all along the way, because it's so fleeting. I know she's looking back now going, what the hell? That was a fast 15 years. I don't think either one of us have any regrets. I wish I had told myself to not be as anxious as I was, because I feel like that was my biggest, I added a lot of anxiety, and certainly Steve's situation, and then, the death, and then having Fireline and worrying about everyone having a job and, being profitable. I worried all the time, but my daughter didn't. She was much better at handling stress than me. So she was much more equipped to take on that job. So I could see that. So it made it really hard for me to give her advice when I was the one that was really needed to pick up. I was very worried, and I was grieving too. So, I didn't really get a chance to grieve. So it took a little while. I worked on that, but all good things. And I'm proud. I'm proud of her. I'm proud of her family for supporting her. I'm proud of everyone here for, gosh, it's been this is a great run. This is a good gig. I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
I'm really happy with it. So,
and thank you for continuing this and allowing us to be here. So.
Thank you. I guess I'm, who knows? I could be making those flower arrangements for a long time.
Yeah. No, thank you so much for being a guest on Fire Away.
Thank you.
Really loved hearing from you. Mark, anything else you want to bring up, bud?
No, I appreciate your time. This has been a fantastic episode. I know you said you were a little nervous, but you killed it. You did amazing.
Yes.
Amazing. I love it when I can shut up and just listen. I think everybody else does too.
So does Anna.
Yeah, I know. You're welcome, Anna. But thank you so much.
Thank you, Sharon.
Yep.
Thank you.
Catch up again anywhere you get your podcast. Follow us on Instagram, _Away Podcast, and we'll talk to you next time.